Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Talking Real Estate with Champions Real Estate Team here at Berkshire Hathaway Home Service Ambassador Real Estate Company. My name is Mark Wehner II, team leader, Champions Real Estate Team. Joining me today is Russ Williams with Williams Mortgage. Thanks for joining us, Russ. So we jump on here every Wednesday, sometime throughout the day, depending on how crazy our days get. And go over what's going on in the real estate market over the last 7 days, give you a rundown. Russ kind of hit the high points on what's going on in the mortgage industry. We like to start it out with a quick tip. Quick tip that I have today. So over the last 2 months, we've had weekly or monthly legal seminars with our legal counsel at Berkshire Hathaway. And he has hit on it twice now, 2 months in a row, is just disclosures. And I think that's a huge thing when we're selling a house. And I've got a new listing coming up on Friday, going to pictures today after I get done with this video. So it's a great house in Exarban. So that's the other quick tip is get out there and check out this house. Yeah, it's at 1502 South 55th Street. So it's right in Exarban on the corner. It's a corner lot, brand new fence, update, all that kind of fun stuff. But working with my sellers, they purchased the house in 2019. So, and we talk about disclosure is if when they bought that house, I did not work with them when they bought the house in 2019. But if they have a property condition disclosure statement or they did a home inspection or you as a seller have done a home inspection when you previously bought that house, those are all items that you should pass on to that next buyer from a disclosure standpoint. Because if something happens, when that property disclosure, when you bought the house, it says, oh, the basement had water in it or something like that. We got it fixed. Great. Okay. So now you buy the house, you think, oh, the basement's fine. You go, you live in it, say 5 years. You call me and say, hey, Mark, I want to sell the house. I'm like, okay, great. Let's sell the house. And then that new buyer buys it. All of a sudden they get water in their basement and they go, oh, this looks like this has happened before. They go back and see, oh, you didn't disclose on yours that you had water when you lived there, but the previous seller, that you bought it from looks at it and says, well, they told you they had a water issue that they fixed. You need to disclose that that basement had water, before you bought it, so that it kind of that chain of, title or chain of ownership that everybody in that chain knew that information when they bought the house. And so now that you own it, you're selling it to that next buyer. You want to make them informed of what you knew when you bought the house. So our attorney, I mean, maybe that's, I look at a lot of agents that are in our little webinar classes and stuff like, oh my gosh, that is so overkill. Like, how far do you have to go back? Well, the thing is, if there is litigation or an attorney gets involved, with that current homeowner, they're going to go back as far as they can to see who all knew about it, who disclosed it, when, and how they disclosed it. So, like I said, so for my clients that were listing the house on Friday, I just asked them, hey, you got the property condition disclosure statement when you bought it? Yeah, we got a copy of it. Great. Hey, let's put that in our documents, so that that next buyer can have as much information as they need so that they can make an educated decision. And even they have a home inspection report. So I'm like, hey, let's put that home inspection in there so they see it. And I always tell my current clients, so if I had a buyer looking at that house, I would still recommend getting a home inspection because the previous owners was in 2019, 6 years ago. A lot of things can happen in that 6 years. So don't rely on old information, old home inspections, but at least the in-depth. It's kind of like the medical history of a patient. You want to know what's gone on so that you can, if you're in the medical profession, you're a doctor, you can see what happened 5 years ago. What surgeries did they have 5 years ago? Same thing from a house. What surgeries did that house have? Did they put a drain tile system in? Did they do a new roof? Did they have, mold, radon, anything like that? All that stuff should be disclosed so that that buyer can make an educated decision. I tell my clients, disclose anything and everything, because I always joke about it. If you don't disclose it, your neighbor will. And it's funny enough that it's not that that neighbor's trying to, throw you under the bus. It's like, oh yeah, I hope they got that water issue fixed in the, but what water issue? And the new person bought the house. They closed last week, and now the neighbor's talking about water issues. And of course, then they get on, so that's the biggest thing is when we talk about it. So when you work here at Champions Real Estate Team with us agents, we're going to do our best to make sure that you are, fully compliant, from a disclosure standpoint that's going to hopefully mitigate any risk coming back to you. And as a buyer, I want my buyers to know as much information. So if they have a question on something of that disclosure, then let's get a proper professional. Is there a foundation issue? Is there a water issue? Is there a roof issue? Is there an electrical issue? Get the proper people in there, to investigate and give you a good answer that you're comfortable with, of if there are, potential costs involved with that, or hey, everything's fine. That way you have a peace of mind when you're buying the house. Yes, it may be overkill. And, I don't see it. I haven't seen it on any houses. And I'm going to put it on mine because it'll be my first listing since since we've had this talk with the legal side of I've always disclosed everything, but I never really thought about, hey, when they bought the house, they should disclose what they knew when they bought it. And so I'm just going to put the old property disclosure in on the MLS so that agents can put it on there. And then in our disclosure, I'll put at the bottom of the current one, hey, see attached, property disclosure from 2019 and home inspection report for your information. And that way, hey, you as a seller, you've laid it all on the table. Let's rock and roll and move forward from that side of it. So, but yeah, that's my quick tip and a short-winded answer, right? I went on for probably about 10 minutes, but cool. But yeah, it's very important. He was talking about that he's had lawsuits of $100,000, $8,000 just being settled out of court, those type of things. So it's just disclosure. It's just know what you're buying. You're not hiding anything. And some sellers go, well, I don't want to put all that information out there. That may scare buyers away. Well, that's going to scare the buyers away. They're going to come back, in a lawsuit, and you're gonna if you give that information to them, I look at that as an agent, as a buyer's agent. If I see a laundry list on that seller disclosure and one, I'm like, hey, if something was broke, they fixed it, or they remedied it, or they took care of it, they had the proper professionals look at it, then great. And if my buyer's not comfortable with that, let's go find another house. That's perfectly fine. But I want you to have that information so you're comfortable. You're making one of the largest purchases that you're probably going to make, and so we want you to be comfortable with that and make sure you have all that information. So, all right, cool. Rock and roll with that. So, let's jump into what's going on in the market here. So we've seen a lot more houses come on the market. Let me pull up here. You get it? All right, here we go. So we had 670 new homes go live in the last 7 days. Great for the inventory side. Our new contracts written, so we're getting more houses coming on the market. We haven't seen that buyer pool kick up, as big as far as the new contracts written. But obviously, we've had 70-degree weather days, here this week. We're gonna have nice weekend. So I'm guessing that new contracts written next week I'm guessing it'll probably be higher, when we get those new houses coming on the market. So, like we said, we're still seeing a lot of buyer activity. I was talking to other agents around that Woolworth area and the Exarban area that houses just went pending. I'm like, hey, what's your traffic like? And they're like, hey, we've seen a ton of first-time home buyers come through. So there's a lot of buyers jumping in that buyer pool now when the weather starts getting nice. So if that's something you're thinking about, let's get after it. Because these houses aren't going to probably sit on the market very long for the ones that are, nice, updated, and well taken care of and all that good stuff. So we had 314 happy new homeowners. Yeah, so it's kind of a good rundown on that one here. Let's do the 30,000-foot view. Yeah. So we ticked up on the numbers. So obviously we had 670 go on, only 380 come off. So our number of homes for sale went up to 2,900. We were at like 28 and 75, I think, something like that. Last week, so we're at 17, 23. That number ticked up a little bit in Douglas-Sarpy County. Our existing homes, I think, went up 16 houses. So we got a lot of new inventory on those 16 houses in the Douglas-Sarpy County area. So that number's going to be hovering there. And then we got 973 new construction listings. We're starting to see, I know when I had our mastermind meeting last week, we were talking about the new construction side. There's some builders that are sitting with some houses. You're seeing some of the DR Hortons, the celebrities that are offering discounts for you to get into those houses and things of that sort. So months of inventory is still kind of right around that seller, just that bottom between seller and neutral market there. Our average sold price went up from 333. It went up $5,000 to 338. So we're starting to see that those prices are going up a little bit. Just that simple supply and demand as we see that. So we'll jump in there and get after it. But yeah, let's jump in here with Russ and see what's going on the mortgage side, and we'll rock and roll from there. How are you doing, Russ?
Doing pretty well. Last Friday, we saw the lowest rates we'd seen in 4 months. That was confirmed by low inflation numbers that came out in this morning's retail inflation report called the Consumer Price Index. However, since last Friday, we've seen mortgage rates move upwards just a little bit. And significant reason for that is there's concern that we could see inflation respike as we deal with these trade wars, tariff wars, what have you. Having said that, though, there are still some first-time home buyer funds that are out there to help folks get into homes. And I encourage you, in the event that you're payment conscious, which most of us are, make sure you're prepared ahead of time. Have that credit reviewed ahead of time. and make sure that you're working with a lender that can help optimize and give you feedback on how you can drive your credit scores as high as possible. Because not only does the credit score affect your interest rate on many loans, but also the cost of things like private mortgage insurance and even homeowners insurance can be affected by credit score. So I encourage you, get in touch with Mark and his team. They'll get you connected, get you set up, put a plan in place to help you get into this market because it looks like it could be another good year for real estate.
Yeah, like I said, weather's getting nice. Buyers are getting out there. Sellers are getting their house on the market. Like I said, I got a great house coming up this on Friday. So getting pictures done today, get all the marketing stuff rocking and rolling tomorrow. Go live on Friday. So that's down in 1502 South 55th Street. So it's just on the corner of 55th and Woolworth. It's a great house, updated. In 2019, when my clients bought a lot of updates, it basically was a 4 bedroom. They took one of the bedrooms, basically made it into the master suite. Essentially that. So it's got a walk-in shower, dual vanities. So you don't see that a lot too much in the Exarban area unless something has been completely remodeled and stuff like that. So this house has been remodeled. One of the things it does have in the basement is a large, family area. So that's another thing that you don't necessarily typically see in it's just the age of those houses. They weren't built to have those larger kind of family room type spaces. So, great house, but you heard it here first. So if you're watching the video, you're getting a little heads up on what's coming on the market here. So, but yeah, if you have any questions, want to see it, give me a holler. Happy to show it to you on Friday once we're live and rocking and rolling. So I don't expect it to last long. I never want to say anything or jinx anything. It's just like the announcer, the kicker. Oh, this guy hasn't missed in 100 and some odd, extra points. And sure enough, he doinks it off the pole. So, but anyways, yeah, if you have any questions, give us a holler. Let's get a game plan rocking and rolling. Whether you're thinking about buying or selling, and let's rock and roll with it and get scouting reports on what's going on out there in the marketplace. And happy to help. 672-7670. Give Russ. Oop, he's on the side. 290-8936. Help you with all your mortgage stuff. So